My name is Professor Daniel S. B.I.C.
I am Peter Jazzy Eze, or PJ Eze, a professor of anthropology and the head of Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
My name is Professor Mrs. Florence Onyebuchi Orabeze. I'm a lecturer in the Department of English and Literary Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm presently the Director of Institute of African Studies.
My name is Chief Nduka Isaac Eya. I'm a senior citizen, and I come from the B.I.C North local government area of Enugu State. I come preside from Nsukka, where the University of Nigeria is based. I schooled in that place. I was one of the first students of that university from 1960 to 1963.
My name is Honorable Christy Obikegona, Member of Council, Federal Government College, Technical Asaba. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Social Work, University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
This is Zuka Okonta. I'm a product of this university. I read sociology and anthropology here.
My name is Nana Ono Harube. I'm a senior lecturer with the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
My name is Chief Nduka Isaac Eya. I'm a senior citizen, and I come from the B.I.C North local government area of Enugu State. I come preside from Nsukka, where the University of Nigeria is based. I schooled in that place. I was one of the first students of that university from 1960 to 1963. It was that place that I met somebody who remained my bosom friend and compatriot until death snatched him. I'm talking about Professor Benedict Ifeanyi Chukwuma Ijomah, B.I.C, as I call him. We met at Nsukka as first students of that university, and we graduated together in 1963. My relationship with him is a very close one and has been until death took him away. And that is why I am glad to be part of this video tribute to a great friend, a brother, and a compatriot. Before he left for US, in 1965, after we had worked in the university, he initiated action to form the University of Nigeria Alumni Association. He was the founder of the University of Nigeria Alumni Association in 1965, and he became the first President General of that organization. I became the fourth President General of that organization, and we have grown ever since. before his demise, we were all members of the past conference of past national presidents of that organization. So it was a sustained growth from infancy to adulthood. But the important thing is that when he left for US, the war came in '67. And he did not forget his alma mater. He was out there gathering books, donations of books, and also building library for the university. And at the end of the war, it cost a lot of money to import the books he saved for the university. As the years went by, the government of Delta State, where he comes from, also recognized this man's qualities and had set up some building in the university in his name. B.I.C. was a great person, a colleague that you cannot forget. And like I said, we have been bonded together, and it's a sad that I lose him. Right now, just before his demise, we were facing some crisis in the Alumni Association. And all we were able to have gone home first. He would come to my house and send for lunch. And we had pranks as young people. I give you an example. Sometimes, as we are eating, as two people, there are three pieces of meat. I would take one and he would take one. Then he came for the third one. And I objected, and he was picked on the meat so that I don't pursue him anymore. But this is the sort of relationship we had. We did a lot of things together. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah was a natural sociologist and anthropologist. When we came into the University of Nigeria, he registered for sociology and anthropology. I registered for English language. He was in Faculty of Social Sciences, and I was in Faculty of Arts. But what brought us together, and that was the beginning of our association, was that in the first year, he initiated move for the formation of student union government, as usual in all universities. And he contested for the presidency of that organization. I contested for the secretaryship. Both of us won the election. So he became the first president of Student Union of the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, and I was the first secretary. And we had been on together from then. The type of person, like I said, is a natural sociologist and anthropologist. And he made his class in it. He developed and became PhD holder in sociology and anthropology. He was a very articulate man. He didn't care whose horse was God. He said it as it was. And it looks as if nature brought us together, because that's exactly how I operate. The truth shall always make you free. And that's what brought us together. So from 1960, we've been together. We worked closely. In spite of student intrigues that led to trying to throw us out, we worked together for 2 consecutive years before we went into our final year, where we left it for others. He was a great president, unifying factor, never trying to create division. Anytime there's division, he tried to make peace. And that's what sustained both of us. Our relationship went even to the village. He knew my family. One interesting story is that one day he came to our house looking for Eya. And he met my father. And he said, I'm looking for Eya. And he said, no, that's not the Eya I'm looking for. Then everybody laughed. Well, we had a bond that not only ended between 2 of us, but between our families. I knew his mother. I visited Ela, where the mother was living. He also visited me in the village at Enugu-Ezike. He knew my late brother who died 4 years ago. He knew my father. He knew my relatives. And it was as if we were 2 brothers. People in the university knew that bond. And I can tell you that his death shattered me. He was 84 going to 85. I am 81 going to 82. So by tradition, we are age mates, and we have related. A terrific bond that I don't think I've had with anybody. So it's like that. Ijomah, B.I.C. and myself, I knew him as B.I.C. Whenever I say B.I.C., we knew. And he always called me Isaac. And our story is a long story. That I lost a friend, I lost a brother. By 1963, when we graduated, we thought that was the end. But by some coincidence, when the university was looking to employ its first graduates, it happened that Prof. Ijomah and myself were employed as administrative officers, being the first graduates of the university to work for the university under a mentor who has also passed on in the person of Eze Vincent Ike, who was the first African registrar of that university. Not us whatever we have done in administration, university administration, or educational administration. B.I.C. was attached to an assistant registrar, social sciences. I was attached to an assistant registrar, science and technology. And we developed from there until we grew up as assistant registrar, etc. Before he left for studies abroad. He was a very great academic. I wasn't in that line because I had a lot of family problems. But when he left on study leave to America, from a registrar's office, we were all keeping in touch. But one thing, this bond I'm talking about, when we were working as administrative officers, he lived in Margaret Cartwright Avenue. I lived in Elias Avenue. You passed his house before you got to my house. But the interesting thing is that if after work he got to his house first before me, I would stop at his house and send for my lunch from my house next door to his alumni association from people who have bastardized it. We were still in that duty when he left. Now he's gone. We still have an unfinished job to do. And some of us are left alone to pursue that, I can assure him. But his death, God moves in a very mysterious way. I knew that B.I.C. was going down because he fell ill. And I was very concerned. I called him every blessed day. At the end, he was well, he was discharged. His children rushed him to Lagos. He was discharged. And we were communicating. And he was always very grateful that I was showing the concern I was showing. In one occasion, he said, you know, I cheated stroke thrice. I said, to God be the glory. During my 51-year wedding anniversary, he and his wife came here. The gift they gave me and my wife are still there. And that is why when I think about B.I.C. having, as a matter of fact, I cried. But the important thing is that when he fell ill, he called me from Lagos. Isaac, I am in Luth. And it looks as if the phone dropped. That's all he said, I'm in Luth. I called and nobody answered. I knew the thing was serious. Then I spoke with the wife. And I made it a point of duty from that day to call him every blessed day. And he expressed gratitude for that concern. I spoke with him every day when he was in the position. And I encouraged him not to worry and not to answer for, let the wife do the talking. But what pained me most, on Wednesday before his death, I spoke with him. And he told me that he was getting a lot better, but that he was not sleeping enough. And the doctors were reluctant to give him sedative. I persuaded him, don't worry, the doctors know what they're doing. When sleep comes, you will sleep. Just relax. I spoke to him on Thursday, and on Friday, March 13, I spoke to him again in the daytime. And we had a conversation. And I was hoping to call him on Saturday morning. Then I came out and my wife called me and said, sit down. He started, I knew something was wrong. He just got a call that B.I.C died on Friday night. So until his death, I was with him. We lost B.I.C. He's a believer. And this is not, it's a tribute, what a man believes in. He believes in progressive monogamy. He has a lot of children. He married a few, but one at a time. And I'm here, feeling like the children, feeling like the wife, that we have a great loss. This nation has lost somebody.
To Mrs. Ijomah, I've spoken to you, Emeka, Emma, Azuka. Those are the ones that I know, that I'm in touch with them. I am asking you to remain strong. You lost a great man. It was your father and your husband, but he was also my friend. I grieve like you do, because I know what I have lost. But in God's name, we Christians, your father believed in the Virgin Mary. He established a school, Madonna High School in Asaba. That school must prosper under your care, madam and children. You must not allow that school to flop. It must be kept on as a reminder, legacy of Professor B.I.C. Ijomah. The Department of Sociology and Anthropology in the University of Nigeria, we must not forget B.I.C. because he's gone. I'll mourn him like you do. I grieve with you, but I'm asking you in the name of God. Let's bear the loss. I mourn you. Goodbye.
My name is Professor Daniel S. B.I.C, graduate of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. It's a painful experience, but we have to go through it to pay tribute to my bosom friend and brother, Professor B.I.C. Ijomah. Entered the University of Nigeria, Nsukka as a student among the first set in 1961. Personally, I entered the same university in the same department the following year in 1962. Prof. Ijomah continued as a student leader even from the first time he entered the university. He was elected president of Students' Union, and that was at the point when the university was in its formation. He, along with members of his colleague, fashioned the Students' Union and made it to be counted in the country as a whole. We came in the second year in the same department and became friendly with Professor B.I.C. Relevance and his brilliance and performance in the exams. He was reabsorbed into the university as administrative officer in the registry department. And we are so honored. I graduated the following year in 1964 and was also reabsorbed into the university as administrative officer in the Department of Student Affairs. We now started right then to form the Alumni Association as a wing of the students' activities, as a wing of ex-students. A national conference of Alumni Association of the University of Nigeria was called, and there he was elected president or national president of University of Nigeria Alumni Association. I was a member of the executive. And in the following year, he was awarded a scholarship to go to the United States of America to study for further studies. In 1965-66, he traveled to the United States, and from there was still continuing to keep in touch with the University of Nigeria Alumni Association, and I became the coordinator in his absence of the association. In the United States, Ijomah also initiated and started University of Nigeria Alumni Association and was organizing it among various the external branch of the Alumni Association. Then the war broke out, and Ijomah was in the United States during the war. We remained at home, and by the grace of God, we were able to keep the Alumni Association afloat. On the end of the Civil War, Nigerians or first Biafrans to reach home, to reach his home university, to reach the Alumni Association, to reach the Students' Union, trying to find out how they are doing. And immediately, before you knew it, he started to organize generations to emulate his patriotism, his love for humanity, and his love for social sciences as a discipline, and to ensure that in all things, light will shine. Thank you very much.
The subject matter of this conversation, and that's Professor Ijomah himself, but just so that people will know who is speaking, my name is Peter Jazzy Eze. People prefer to say PJ Eze, and I'm a professor of anthropology, and for 2 years now I have been head of Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria. It's important to mention this because that my position as the head of this department, or for that matter, my membership of the department, is what gave me the good fortune of coming in close contact with the most important figures that has practiced sociology in our part of the world. I got to meet him for the first time when, I think in 2016, I mean the department, our department, gave him a reception because he was the eponym of the building we occupy, and so we thought we should receive him. And on that occasion, I had the honor of being asked to write his citation. So that was the first time I came in contact. We got the news about his passing with a great shock so gargantuan we are still trying to get over it. And it is partly due to how Prof. Ijomah conducted his life, carried on while he was alive. It was just a couple of weeks he had visited here, strong as usual. At his age, you wouldn't expect somebody to be so strong, active. So if one was talking about that man passing on a couple of weeks after he had been here with us, I wouldn't have believed it. But then That is the fact of life. As I said, Prof. Ijomah is irreplaceable. The simple fact of the matter is not rhetoric. The things he did are some of those things that can never be redone. I'll give you an example. He was one of the visionaries who saw the need to come in as the first set of students in this model University of Nigeria, Nsukka, which is, of course, Nigeria's first autonomous university. When the University of Nigeria was established, almost the same year as Nigerian independence, not many people believe in that dream, both as potential students and as members of the public. It was even worse, but that's a story for another day, with opposition politicians. But Ijomah was one of those visionaries who saw sense in what was being done and who saw greatness and who knew that without a place to train Africans from African perspectives, then independence itself was did not worth much. So he became one of the first set of students to come into the new university. He chose to study our own discipline, namely sociology and anthropology. When he came in, like the Igbo say, a good day starts with early rise of the sun. He showed his potentialities through his actions, through his words, early enough. He became the first president of the student union body, and went on from there to become the vice president of the precursor of what we now call National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, but which at that time was called National Union of Nigerian Students, NONS. He became the first vice president of that. But it's not just participation in student leadership. He made his first mark on national life of Nigeria as a whole, with something really remarkable. Soon after independence, Britain tried to set a death trap, banana appeal, to the apparent independence it granted. Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact, which would have put Nigeria in the type of situation some African countries still found themselves, where the former colonizer based his army, the defense, on their territory, and therefore taking away perhaps the most important aspect of an independent nation, which is the ability to take care of its own security. So, but Ijomah saw through that. It's amazing. The politicians had nearly fallen for that. What did he do? He organized the student union body of University of Nigeria, and they went to Enugu and raised the largest possible student agitation protest that was witnessed up until that. After the demonstration in Enugu, he returned to his room in University of Nigeria. You might know Balewa Hall, it still exists. So he was living in room 330. So he used that as the mobilization point for the rest of his all the student union leaders of Nigeria at the time, and they came to his room. They stayed there and strategized, and they believed that if their protestation would be effective enough to frustrate the politicians and their British friends from going on with that scheme, then they should take the protests to national level, which they eventually compelled the government of Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa to rethink their acceptance of that scheme, and that was how he stopped single-handedly Nigeria going back to dependence. Whatever contributions he could make in terms of personal expertise, he combined the job of assistant registrar in charge of postgraduate studies with lectureship in his department, meaning our Department of Sociology and Anthropology. He helped produce some of the finest practitioners also. One of our former deans, Professor B.I.C. and so on, I hear people will be talking to him also. He might be able to bring in first-hand experience under the great departed professor. But the contributions were so spectacular that some of the publications contained them. So when University of Nigeria had stabilized, he moved on to other space of our national educational life, worked in Polytechnic, worked in some universities that you may know because they are matters of common knowledge in our national life. Perhaps one of the most unforgettable contributions, again, as far as University of Nigeria is concerned, he organized what we still have now as the Alumni Association. And for one decade, for over 10 years, babysat it, in quote, tried to nurture it until it became the formidable force it now is. That is Professor Ijomah. Like I confessed in the beginning, I came into personal contact with him rather late, like somebody said, better late than never. I'm pleased that at least, however brief, I was able to have personal contact with him. And for me, it's like going back to school. what he left behind in terms of his contribution to the discipline, contribution to the university, contribution to national life, contribution to the affairs of the black race will never end.
My name is Professor Mrs. Florence Onyebuchi Orabeze. I'm a lecturer in the Department of English and Literary Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm presently the Director of Institute of African Studies in that university. And I had occupied so many positions in the University of Nigeria Alumni Association. I was once the branch president of ONA, Enugu branch. I was also the first woman legal advisor, national legal advisor to ONA. And I was also the deputy national president of University of Nigeria Association at the national. I knew Professor B.I.C. Ijomah, Agribo. I saw him as a father. And he is also a good family man. He loves his family. He loved his family. He is also a man of integrity, a man of honor, a man of character, a very charismatic individual. He was the first president of Students' Union Government in the University of Nigeria, so as far back as 1960. And also the founding father of University of Nigeria Alumni Association, and also its founding president. I would describe him as a legend, a historical figure, an icon, a big masquerade. He had done so many things to for so many people, including a house that was donated on his behalf to the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I would describe him as a very good man. Nigeria, Delta State, South, University of Nigeria Association, Alumni Association, University of Nigeria in its entirety, we have lost an irreplaceable whip for his death. But my consolation is that he believed in God. He also had his trust on Mother Mary. And like I said, he knew he was about to die. Even 2 years before his death, he was telling us that. But he died believing that there is God. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah was a man that loved everybody, particularly the young ones, particularly his students. Until his death, he was still mentoring them. And when he came to the university and saw that students were studying outside because they didn't have classrooms, he took it upon himself to provide for them a massive structure named after him, Professor B.I.C. Ijomah Building Complex for the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. And not only that, he loved his department so much and the students that others are jealous of them. He contributed a center. He contributed books to build a library. And a center was named by Professor B.I.C. B.C. Ozumba after him. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah Center for Policy Studies. And I was the person who brought about 5,000 books. I was the person who brought about 5,000 books. He donated to the center. We will always remember him. May his soul rest in peace.
My name is Honorable Christy Obikegona, Member of Council, Federal Government College, Technical, Lecturer and Department of Social Work, University of Nigeria, and so also activist, social worker, and a lecturer. We're talking about, it's my cousin-in-law, we used to call him Dr. Ben. Professor Benjamin Chokoma Ijomah, popularly known as B.I.C. He's a prince of Abo Kingdom. Myself, I'm a princess. That means he is a Mwade. That is what we call prince. I am Agbe. Agbe is princess. Mwade is a prince. So I married his cousin. a first cousin, late Dr. Hyacinth Uweze. B.I.C. Ijomah was my mother-in-law's brother. B.I.C. and my husband are first cousins. Benjamin Chukwuma Ijomah, popularly known as B.I.C. He is the leader of Ndokwa Federation. He's the leader. When we talk of leader of thought, there was a time B.I.C. organized everybody, all elites in Ndokwa, to make sure that Ndokwa moves forward. B.I.C. Ijomah was instrumental to abhor having a bridge. Governor Uduagha wanted to establish polytechnic. He said, if you are putting for your people also, we should have one. And that's how we have a site in Abo Polytechnic, even though we have not, it hasn't taken off, but there is hope that one day we will start. B.I.C. Ijomah has been a very, he's so many things to offer so many people. On his 70th birthday, he launched the social controversy, which I have a copy. Then B.I.C. Ijomah is a man of the people. He's a father per excellence. Abo people lost somebody. And Ndokwa as a nation, and Nigeria as a country has lost a great man. Because in his last visit in January here in Nsukka, I was with him all day. He never looked like somebody that would die in the next 10 years. And I thought, oh, Daddy will live. After that trip, I will find there's a lot of exhaustion from the long trip that he took ill. And we thought he would recover, and eventually he answered the call. But B.I.C. Ijomah is somebody, you cannot describe him. He's just like an elephant. It depends on the side you come from before you can describe an elephant, telling us elephant body is smooth or this side is rough. B.I.C. is a father to B.I.C. Ijomah is the first president of Student Union of University of Nigeria Nsukka. He's also the first president of University of Nigeria Alumni Association and also a life member of National Union of Nigerian Students, NUNS. He gave us the sociology building through the help of Professor Jochus Okeibono, and a Delta, and also through the governor of Delta State, the then Uduagha. Uduagha denoted the building to B.I.C. Ijomah that he has nothing to do with sociology, that he would donate the building to his father, who is Professor B.I.C. Ijomah. We were all there and for the celebration. That was under the Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor, Professor Bartholomew Okolo. So B.I.C. contributed to the development of the department, because before the department was special, but B.I.C. gave us that building through the help of the governor and the effort of Jochus Okeibono. That today we have a sociology building. He donated his library, which I was also a beneficiary of it, because I used to do my research in this library at Asaba. Then he brought his library to the department. That university now has a librarian, and in fact they are connecting it to the internet, the sociology, B.I.C. Ijomah Sociology Center. I think he has really encouraged us, and he's a father we all miss. He is a titled man, a red cap chief, kingmaker in Abo. That's why we call him Agidigbo. He is the Agidigbo of Abo Kingdom. Agidigbo may also rest in peace. Slave till we meet to part no more. Amen.
My name is Izuka Okonta. I'm a product of this university. I read sociology and anthropology here at the University of Nigeria from 1975 to 1978 as a direct entry candidate. Thereafter, I went for youth service and came back as staff of the university in 1980. And I stayed on till the present date. I started working in 1980 as an admin officer 2 and rose to the rank of registrar in January 2009. I was registrar of the university from 2009 to 2016. In between this period, I had the opportunity of coming into close contact with Professor B.I.C. Ijomah, popularly known in this university as B.I.C. I met him first in 1976, in my second year, a student at this university, Department of Sociology and Anthropology. I met him together with my uncle, Professor, who later became the B.I.C. of this university, in connection with my application for Senate Scholars Award, which I was entitled to, having made a cumulative grade point average of over 3.5 in my first year. This physical contact with Professor B.I.C. Ijomah, in company of my uncle, Professor F.N. was in his house. On that fateful morning, I personally was expecting to see a man who, having read overseas after leaving this university, who want to pride himself by the conduct and behavior of the Bintus of those days. However, we were pleasantly surprised that he was down to earth, the real African, and we were able to come down to reality. We spoke our native language. He was very helpful, he was supportive, and indeed did all he could to help my case. Thereafter, and to cut the long story short, I had two other encounters directly with Professor B.I.C. Ijomah. One in his house in the Buluku, when he hosted Utumuta, an association of Delta Igbo-speaking senior staff of all Nigerian universities in our annual conference. He was a motivator, a galvanizer, and that experience in his house, which attracted virtually all the top traditional rulers in the present day Ijomah, left an indelible mark on me. Prof. Ijomah showed himself as not only an intellectual, a humanist, and a Pan-Africanist to the core. He was always in the forefront of the campaign to bring back the University of Nigeria to its former glory after the devastation of the Nigerian Civil War, and continued to push in that direction until his recent demise. In recognition of his contributions and tireless efforts, and in fact, recognizing that he was the first Students' Union president of this university, a bust in his honor was erected and still stands in front of the Students' Union building. Also, in recognition of his numerous contributions, both within the university and in Nigerian, Delta State and Nigerian society in general. I was fortunate to be the registrar of the university when the former governor of Delta State, Dr. Duaga, honored him by erecting a marvelous building in his name in Suka campus of the university. The professor of B.I.C. Ijomah. Prof. Ijomah has been a guiding light in this university. An intellectual par excellence, a human being that you could relate with, a motivator, a father to most of us who came to know him. We will miss him greatly. He was a great man. Thank you.
My name is Nana Onoha. I'm a senior lecturer with the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I personally know Professor B.I.C. Ijomah until his passing. Incidentally, I did not meet him in early days of his life. I met him in the later days of his life, but I have come from my experience to learn quite a lot from him. He is someone that I should, in the first instance, regard as a polymath. By polymath, I mean someone who has very vast knowledge about things. Someone you might want to call a multi-talented genius. And some of these things are from practical experiences I had being with him. On one occasion, for instance, I had gone to visit him in his Delta State Asaba house with one other gentleman who's a botany graduate student from the University of Nigeria and a lady. Now, when we got to his place that day, the botany graduate student started talking with Professor Notes. I want to say, may the soul of Professor B.I.C. Ijomah rest in perfect peace. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled by the profundity of Professor B.I.C. Ijomah's contributions to the discussion that was going on. And this is an area that he did not have any degree in, but I found him debating vigorously with this graduate student of botany. Incidentally, their discussion for that day culminated in a collaborative research, collaborative study between him and this graduate student to help Professor B.I.C. Ijomah make his contribution in the area of ethnobotany. Because Professor B.I.C. Ijomah had inherited a medicinal plant which he used to cure people of diabetes. Now, this medicinal plant he now wanted to do some kind of ethnobotanical analysis to determine the biochemical constitution. Now, this research, incidentally, is still ongoing at the point that Professor B.I.C. Ijomah passed. Now, this is someone who is essentially a sociologist, but then look at him making contribution in ethnobotany. That is why I see him as a polymath. And it is my wish that on that score, that his family, particularly Azoka, who also knew about this research, should see the research to its logical that one could say about Professor B.I.C. Ijomah. I mean, this is an individual you could practically write volumes of books just talking about the different aspects of him. But I also see him as a man who has a very large heart. I have been close enough to him to listen to him talk about stories of his life during the late 60s and the early 1970s when he was in Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, in the United States. He, incidentally, while he was doing his graduate studies program in that place, stayed there for the duration of the Nigerian Civil War. Now, when at the end of the shooting phase of the war, when the Eastern Nigerians were practically suffering all manner of hardships, he used his creativity to bring some of his erstwhile colleagues and mentees over to Northwestern University. Those people eventually came up to become very important individuals, both in sociology and other disciplines. They made also very significant and amazing contributions to the discipline. So it was thanks to his very kind-heartedness and his very large-heartedness that he used every creativity. I don't want to go into the details of those, but it wasn't something that you see everybody doing, because in the first instance, the slots that he got for these people were something that he saw passing through his fingers, going to other parts of the world, and then he had to intervene at some point to challenge the head of his unit, who was, because he was also working part-time then in the place, to challenge the head of his unit who was there, making him give out slots for scholarship to other parts of the world, and none was going to his home country, where people were very well deservingly qualified for this scholarship, but then they weren't getting it. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah is someone that I see as an ultimate scholar's inspiration. He served as a source of inspiration to me throughout the period that I knew him. There was no period when I met Professor B.I.C. Ijomah that we did not come away with a project from that discussion. That's the kind of person he is. He's a man who will never stop working, who will never stop working once there is an opportunity to create something new, to add something new to knowledge or to humanity. He, for instance, every year makes it a point to write a new book that will be launched on his birthday. That is how committed a scholar he was. Now, some of the things that you may have heard about, for example, the B.I.C. Ijomah Center for Sociological Studies in the University of Nigeria, was a brainchild of one of these meetings that I had with him. We conceived the idea of bringing the center to the University of Nigeria, and then he challenged me, because we were always challenging each other. He challenged me to come up with a proposal. I came up with a proposal, and he looked through it, made corrections. I went back. We kept going back and forth until I produced something that was satisfactory to him, which he eventually presented, and it was accepted by the university, and that center was created. As a matter of fact, the proposal that we wrote is so fundamentally important for the running of the center that the current director of the center not long ago asked me to give her a copy of the proposal so that she could understudy the methods and philosophy behind the thinking that led to the coming into being of that center, so she could apply them in her running of the center. Now, that was not all. There were so many other things that we conceived and we started implementing. There are too numerous, but I'll just mention were 2 book projects that we had already gone into, which unfortunately now I will have to work alone to conclude. There was also the issue of his center, which is in Asaba, which we're still brainstorming on how to reorganize. And then there's also the issue of his journal, the Journal of the African Behavioral Sciences, Journal of African Behavioral Sciences, which he, before his passing, appointed me the editor. Now, the idea was to modernize that journal and relaunch it, and make it as relevant in pursuant to its original mission as possible. Now, this is also something that these are some of the things that I'll make sure that we conclude to the eternal glory of this man. Professor Ijomah is a man that I see, I get a lot of inspiration from in so many areas. One of those areas is the area of discipline and being principled, because I could recall one incident when I entreated him, I went to implore him. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah told me that he wasn't going to do that, and I wanted to know why. He told me that he knows this young man, and he does not think that it would be fair for him to serve as his referee, because there are things he knows about him, which if he were to go ahead and serve as his referee, that means he will be lying not only to himself but to whomsoever that he would be presenting the young man to, recommending the young man to, or whatever organization he will be recommending the young man to. So as much as I tried to entreat him to do that, regardless, he stuck to his guns. Okay, so he made me understand that if there was something that he could do to help such an individual at the personal level, he wouldn't hesitate to do that. But to recommend him would mean going against principle, and I learned a lot from that also. Because for example, when so many people come for referee purposes to you, and some of us just saw that as a duty that you have to do to somebody without taking into cognizance some of these angles. Professor B.I.C. Ijomah is someone that I would consider also a very spiritual man. Not spiritual in this sense is different from religion, because spirituality is different from religion. He told me a number of times about how he was very determined over the course of as he got older to find out where it is that people go to when they die. And then this took him to conducting a number of experiments, spiritual experiments, where, for instance, he would take a mixture of mushrooms and herbs, and the sort of thing you find in that shamans doing in shamanic cultures. And then this will create an altered state of consciousness for him. And in this altered state of consciousness, he will get a lot of experience, and these experiences he will then write down. The things he saw, the places he, by collecting this data, he determined what is it that happens when people die, where they go to when they die. But at a stage, he had to stop those experiments, because they were beginning to take a toll on his health. Now, Professor, I have so much to say, but and there's also a few funny moments. One of the funniest moments that I had with Professor B.I.C. Ijomah was when I came back from one of my overseas trips, and I had just freshly locked my hair. I converted my natural hair to locks. And when I came to visit him, first his son Asoka couldn't recognize me. Then he actually recognized me, and then when I came in and then we greeted and all that, he was very reproachful. But once I explained to him the cultural considerations that led to my decision to wear my natural hair as dressed, he became very okay with it, and very nice and playful once again. He became the Professor B.I.C. Ijomah that I knew once again. So this is a man, this is what you miss in this man. This is a man who is well ahead of his time in every sense of the word. This is a man that, in spite of all the contributions he has made to sociology, to administration, to humanity, both locally and striving, even to the very end. There are a number of works he was still, like you already know, he was still embarking on, even at the point that he dropped. So I believe that while the whole world, while the sociological and anthropological world in Nigeria and the rest of the world would miss this colossus, this intellectual colossus, this sage, this incredibly phenomenal individual, I will miss him most personally for all the things that he means to me. And I hope that to do justice to his memory, I will make sure that most of the things, well, in fact, all the things that we started together, I will conclude them in such a way that he will be proud of them were he to still be here with us.